Mount Everest, the highest mountain in the world. Everest is a majestic giant. Located in the Himalayan mountains, on the border between Nepal and Tibet, it rises to an impressive 8,848.86 meters above sea level. It is recognized worldwide as the highest point on Earth and arouses the curiosity and adventurous spirit of many people. How about exploring Mount Everest, the highest mountain in the world, together? Let's learn about the King of the Mountains. The name Everest is a tribute to the British surveyor George Everest. In Nepal, it is called Sagarmatha, which means goddess of the forehead or front of heaven, while in Tibet it is known as Komolungma, mother of the universe or mother of the world. And in Chinese, Zumyalangma Feng. So high and so dangerous, this monster of the air is in the so-called death zone. The minimum altitude of this zone is generally above 8,000 meters. The term death zone refers to locations located in mountains that have altitudes at which the oxygen pressure is insufficient to sustain human life for a prolonged period of time. This concept was conceived in 1953 by Eduard Weiss-Dunat, a Swiss doctor, who initially used the term lethal zone. First ascent. In 1953, Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay became the first humans to reach the summit of Everest. Well, at least that is what we have recorded in history, but it is believed that at some point some natives from the local communities had already visited this inhospitable place. The name Everest was given in honor of Colonel Sir George Everest, who was a Welsh-British geographer, cartographer and surveyor who served as Surveyor and Cartographer General of India, when those lands were British colonies. The mountain was named in his honor due to his studies by his successor, Andrew Scott Waugh. The mountainous geology of the Himalayan mountain range arose from a natural process known as modern folding. These are geological structures that originated due to the actions of tectonism and correspond to the formation of mountain ranges, presenting the highest altitudes on the planet because they are relatively young compared to other formations on the planet. Thus the slow process of erosion still acts on their formations, unlike ancient folding, where the erosion processes were responsible for the formation of plateaus and sedimentary basins. The beginning of the formation of the main mountain ranges on Earth did not occur before 250 million years ago, during the Tertiary period. It is estimated that the Himalayas emerged about 50 to 40 million years ago, when the land masses of the Indian subcontinent and Eurasia, driven by the movement of tectonic plates, collided. They are considered young. Summiting, climbing challenges. Climbing Everest is one of the greatest challenges in mountaineering. The extreme weather, altitude, lack of oxygen and rugged terrain make the climb extremely dangerous. There are two main routes to the summit, via the southeast summit in Nepal and the northeast summit in Tibet, as well as 13 other lesser-used routes. Of the two main routes, the southeast is the technically easier and most frequently used. This was the route used by Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay in 1953. However, the choice of this route was more for political reasons than for route planning, when the Tibetan border was closed to foreigners in 1949. By the end of 2006, 8,030 people had attempted to reach the summit, and of these 212 had not returned from their adventure, 56% of whom had died after reaching the summit, alarming figures when viewed in the final analysis. Most attempts are made between April and May before the monsoon season because a change in the jet stream at this time of year reduces the average speed of wind gusts. Although attempts are sometimes made after the monsoon season in September and October, the accumulation of snow caused by the monsoon makes climbing even more difficult. Since 1921, several attempts have been made to climb Everest. On June 8, 1924, George Mallory and Andrew Irvine, both British, made an ascent attempt from which they never returned. It is not known whether they reached the peak and died on the descent, or whether they never made it, since Mallory's body, found in 1999, was found with personal belongings but without the photo of his wife, which he had promised to leave at the peak. On May 16, 1975, Japanese Junko Tabai became the first woman to reach the summit of Everest, as part of an all-female Japanese expedition. The first ascent without supplemental oxygen was made by the Italian Reinhold Messner and the Austrian Peter Habeler in 1978. In 1980, the same Italian Reinhold Messner made the first solo ascent. Natural features, environment and climate. The mountain is composed mainly of metamorphic and sedimentary rocks that date back millions of years. Its altitude is increasing very slowly due to the tectonic movements of the Indian plate against the Eurasian plate. The mountain continues to grow by about 4 millimeters per year. The lower region is marked by valleys, pine forests and rhododendrons. In the alpine zone the vegetation disappears, and the environment becomes arid and rocky. Above 8,000 meters, the air contains only about 30% of the oxygen found at sea level, making it difficult to survive without breathing equipment. At the summit, the temperature can drop below -40 degrees Celsius in winter. In summer, it is still extremely low, with averages around -19 degrees Celsius. The wind is frequent at the summit, with winds reaching over 160 kilometers per hour. The Himalayan mountain range spans 5 countries: Pakistan, India, China, Tibet region, Nepal and Bhutan, and is home to the highest mountain on the planet, Mount Everest. The name Himalayas comes from Sanskrit and means abode of snow. The Himalayas stretch from west to east, from the Indus River Valley to the Brahmaputra River Valley, forming an arc about 2,500 kilometers long and with a width varying from 400 kilometers in the west, in the Kashmir-Tibet region, to 150 kilometers in the east, in the Tibet-Arunachal Pradesh region. Together, these mountain ranges make up the Himalayan mountain system, the roof of the world and home to the highest peaks. Brazil at the top. Who were the first Brazilians to climb Everest? Waldemar Niklavich is a Brazilian mountaineer. He was the first Brazilian to climb Mount Everest, along with Mozart Caetano. Waldemar was born in Foz do Iguaçu, Paraná, while Mozart was born in Teresópolis, Rio de Janeiro. Everest attracts thousands of visitors every year, generating a significant source of income for Nepal and local communities. Sherpas play a crucial role in expeditions, acting as guides and porters, as well as providing hospitality services in nearby villages. For Nepal, Everest is a symbol of pride and international recognition. It is featured on the national flag and in many campaigns that promote the country's tourism and culture. Climbing Everest is seen as a heroic feat and an opportunity to show your dedication to yourself and the world. Overcoming such a great challenge requires courage and a lot of effort. If you want to face this giant, do it, but do so with great respect for its great strength and power. Climbing Everest involves facing real risks, such as avalanches, falls, hypoxia, and frostbite. For some, facing and surviving these threats is a way to overcome the fear of death and reaffirm their own vitality. Although the reasons vary from person to person, climbing Everest is universally recognized as one of the greatest tests of courage, preparation, and perseverance. Making history. Some people seek to break records, whether for being the youngest, the oldest, or for climbing under specific conditions. Well, I'll stop here. Until the next video, like the video and comment. Take the opportunity to subscribe. See you soon.